Rated G.
That's true.
Believe me, if anybody's watched any of my videos, I am not politically correct.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. This might be like an aside, and I'm the kind of person that kind of likes to go there. Don't mind. Have you Are you a fan of Jordan Peterson? Have you heard of him?
I haven't heard of him.
Okay, never mind. We'll skip that. Maybe I'll send you a link maybe after this. But
Oh,
talk
all right.
about politically incorrect. He's like just dropping truth bombs left and right, and it's hard to accept. So yeah, man, let's get started. So, for those who don't know me, my name is I'm not even giving my real name. You could do the research if you want to for that. But my handle is prophetic777. Your handle is dark1778. We're not going to have a third person come on and just be another name 779. We promise. This was just pure happenstance, and we just decided to get together and chat, talk it out. That's what the Linux community is cool for. But before I give you a summary of my background, Dark One, this is the first time we ever did this. This is like
It
we never
is.
talked before in this capacity ever, but
Nope.
for whatever reason, we're crazy enough to just go for it. And randomly, I used the peer.in. I call it the Random IRC Show on the peer.in link. And it really is coming out to be like that because I had someone else before. We won't get into that. Just hop on. And just for full context, what behind me is not the Matrix. It is a wallpaper that I threw up randomly. Again, sticking with the theme, random. And I found it. And it's from Ghost in a Shell, The Laughing Man anime. And I just found it. I thought it looked rad. I thought it was
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
The, Standalone complex.
Yes, good stuff, man. It's been a while. I usually watch it like every once a year or so. I gotta get back to it. But Dark One, yeah. You, how'd you get into Linux? And what's your background? What do you do for a living, stranger?
Stranger. Unfortunately, I work. I do a little bit of everything as far as what I do. I've done PC repair since I'm 34 now,
Hmm.
so I've been doing PC repair since I was like 15. Um, so,
Nice.
so my background with Linux, Mandrake.
Mm,
This is for those that don't know what Mandrake is. This is a time around 1999, 2000, where you could literally go into a Walmart and buy CD/DVDs of either Red Hat or Mandrake,
yeah.
because Linux was the next new hot thing in 1999. Look at VA Linux systems and all
Mm.
that jazz and all that stuff.
I just missed that boat probably like by a decade. So
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's awesome.
So I have literally been using Linux in some way, shape. I remember running Linux on a 233 megahertz, 64 meg, like 2 gig system. Like this is
Yeah.
how long I've been going in and out of Linux. Wintel modems were a thing.
Hmm.
It has not always been a pretty thing that
Yeah.
we are now accustomed to in these much better days of Linux.
Definitely. Like there's like virtually almost no problem with Wi-Fi. So we've come a long way. Awesome. So you're definitely involved in some way or fashion with Linux from the early days. You said you went in and out of Linux. Did you have like the dry spells where you're like, I'm done with this bullshit, I'm out of here, and then you come back to it? Like, how was that like for you?
It was more. Well, it's like I had like say, it was always a secondary system, but it was never like, oh hey, I game, so where's the PC?
Ah,
Where's the PC gaming platform? Sorry, it's Windows.
yeah,
Get over it.
yeah.
Um, for me, it was always like a secondary system. Well, I have a laptop that I have a certain niche for, or niche, sorry, that I have a role for. Or it's a great appliance thing for like when XBMC was doing their
Yeah.
version of a like a live distro, that kind of stuff. I really didn't make the jump more full time until about Ubuntu 604. Like the first LTS of Ubuntu was really where I was like, I can use this as a pretty much a primary platform for almost everything I use.
That's cool. Yeah, for me it was I was a late bloomer. It was like 2009. Literally the year I was graduating from college. my hard drive crapped out on me.
Oh God.
It was literally during finals too, which was extra stressful. And I remember like picking it up from my desk, and it kind of slid and just kind of slammed right on it. It wasn't even like that much of a drop. It just kind of like slid out of my hand and just slammed there, and then it was game over. And it was like expensive, super expensive to just replace all that stuff. You know, and even to get my data back, because it was finals. Like there was no way around. I needed to get my stuff back. And so obviously I paid just for everything, just except for Microsoft Office, because I was like, I'm not buying this stuff. As expensive as it is, I'm already broke. I gotta find some type of pirated copy. I wasn't even really that big on like being techie at that. I was really didn't get techie. The thing that got me into Linux, interestingly enough, was because Microsoft was too expensive and I was broke college student. So that's like the doorway. And so I ended up like getting a virus because I was using these like crap, Microsoft fake thing. I was like, I just blew my system all over again. Yeah. This is nonsense. And then I found OpenOffice at the time. Mm-hmm. And from there, I was like, if there's a free version of an Office suite, there must be a free version of an operating system. And then that click, boom, Ubuntu 904, and that was my big intro. And I was like boggled that they would mail you a CD for free.
I was ship it program.
Yeah, I was like, and it took like a month and a half. By then, in the course of that month and a half, it got to me. I figured out how to burn an ISO because I got to know when this thing coming in. And then that summer when I graduated, I was looking for a job. And when I was looking for a job, I was playing with Linux. And I went through like a stack of like CDs, just burning stuff, man. PC, Linux OS, all kinds of stuff. And I was kind of hooked from there. And then I had the time where I was like, all right, this is bullshit. I got to get out of here and I got to get work done. And then I'll come in and out. But that's how I got into Linux. What are you running these days?
Well, I have a Lenovo Yoga that runs Manjaro KDE because that is the only distro that plays nice with the whole flipping and
really.
So
not Kubuntu. I thought Kubuntu had a pretty good touch support.
Well, it's not that. What happens is, at least on that particular machine, the touch screen registers as the trackpad, and the trackpad no longer works. So, but the problem is when you poke at the screen, it only right clicks.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that in the Telegram group. Yeah.
So it's one of those. I tried Solus. I love Solus. Don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, trackpad works, but wireless doesn't because it's Broadcom. So
Jesus. Yeah.
So it's fine. It's finding the right
mix.
Yeah, right mix. People want to know why people distro hop or why there's so many distros. This is why.
Yeah.
My other mainstay is either I'm one of those members of Distro Hoppers Anonymous.
Yeah, which is also called the Destination Linux Telegram group. That's the code name.
Very true. Generically, I either go with Solus as a fairly standard distro. Ubuntu, I used to. I was one of the few people who actually liked Unity. Oh well, here's the funny thing about
same here, man.
Here's the funny thing about that. I had a Ultrabook. It was a Toshiba satellite. I think it was like a U845 or W. It is a 21:9 aspect ratio laptop. So squished, but a lot of vertical space, a lot of horizontal space. Unity plays magnificently in that scenario because you get the true side by side.
Oh yeah, for the window, having two things.
So you literally see. So there's not this much space, but there's a lot more this space. So until someone actually uses Unity in that kind of respect, you won't get how much you really value the horizontal space that you get from it.
Dude, man, that's crazy. I didn't know they had it that wide, that satellite.
Yeah, it was a 14, I think, was it a 14.4, but it had the footprint of a 17.
Yeah.
But that Ubuntu, ever since that, I'm waiting for their next LTS before I really
1804, and then
I've been waiting for the intermediary releases to kind of do their thing.
Well, that might be a perfect segue to what we're going to talk about, because I really was kind of like interested in talking about the whole Gnome thing, because now that Ubuntu's moved to Gnome. And by the way, I'm using KDE Neon on mine, and then I have KDE Antigros on my other system, and I'm pretty happy. I love KDE.
Nice.
But Gnome, again, this is not someone who's coming from a place of like just straight up Gnome hating for no reason because I'm a KDE guy. I was all right. So 50% of the screen is coming from a place of not true Gnome hating. No. But in all honesty, I would also loved Unity, but I forgave Unity because I knew the big picture. Like I have my MBA. I love the different aspects of marketing and business when it's done in like a non-douchey way. And
you're not Apple.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. And I actually sold my MacBooks because I was tired of like trying to make it work and then make Linux work on that. I was like, I'm gonna melt this thing because it doesn't have the firmware to monitor the heat and all that stuff. But anyways, I forgave Unity because I knew that Mark Shuttleworth was going for the big play of convergence, and that whole Unity thing, that little bar on the left, was really just a way to socialize and normalize people to use the phone and use that left swipe.
Yep.
That was really probably a significant portion of that strategy. I don't know the guy, I didn't follow him like that closely, but I have a hunch that he probably didn't make he didn't connect the dots enough, which is why a lot of people just didn't receive it all that well. And they released it too early, probably too. But that aside, I jumped around between Gnome and Unity, and I liked what Gnome did in terms of like that mouse gesture, top left corner. I thought that was pretty rad. But then I don't know if they were always like this, and I didn't know. Maybe you can chime in on this. Were they always that designer hipster wannabes, or was this something? Was this something that came at like the 3.2s, or what the hell?
Oh,
because
okay,
being radical and different and cool and like trying to like be, that's cool. But then now they're literally stripping things away. Like, not they, but Nautilus is not. It's not. It was not. It was what was it? It was not as a support in their file manager, and they're not supporting it to make it work on Gnome default, right?
Desktop icons no longer work because they are stripping out that functionality from Nautilus because the code supposedly, I use this term very loosely, because maintained and unmaintained is relative to. We have this thing. We do have stable code, believe it or not. It depends on how you look at it. GNOME has always had what they call the human interface guidelines that they go by. They have had that since GNOME 2. I really didn't get into. I was more the KDE end of things when I was first starting into Linux, because it was more Windows-esque. So most of my usage was with GNOME was on Ubuntu and various other flavors of Debian, because that's my, at the time, preferred end of doing things. GNOME, they always have this weird thing where it's like, it's simplicity is what they're going for, but sometimes in the simplicity, you can have simple without dumbing down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with the 3.0 series, because I've seen it from the 2 to the 3 transition to where we are now. GNOME Shell, which is what most people use, what Ubuntu is going to, is not even remotely close to the original design ethos of what it looked like. If you compare Unity and old GNOME Shell like 2.9 and 2. Early 3.0, they don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
Compare it to now. Favorites on one side, activities looks pretty similar to me.
Yeah.
You get the giant screen overlay. GNOME, I don't want to say they're hipsters and that they want to have a certain design ethos, which is fine. KDE has it too.
Yeah.
Pantheon, the guys that do desktop for elementary, they have design ethos.
That's fine. Having a design, fine. Yeah.
But the problem is, you got they depreciated system notifications. I'm like, give me a break. you get to a point where you are just taking out features because you think you know better than the users of your environment.
It's nuts because it's like it's one thing everyone talks about the Linux and the options. It's one of the great things we say about choice, especially at distro Linux. Destination Linux. Telegram group. We're always talking about choice. What's awesome about it, but it's one thing to take it out and then have it like you got to check a box or move a thing over and then it turns on again and you have it. That's one thing. But they're like just removing it and then saying, "Oh, we'll have the extensions guys take care of that." And then the extensions guy is like, "Screw that! I'm not even bothering with this thing because I'm tired of chasing this thing. So I'm not going to support it anymore." So I don't really understand what would be the reasoning for taking out notifications, taking out desktop, and versus making it a freaking optional switch. Okay, you want to have it off by default? Fine, this is your baby. But just have it as a switch you can turn on, for God's sake. What's the deal with that? Is that asking too much?
For GNOME, that's like asking Unity for customization.
Yeah, and put on the bar. Only took how many releases to get that?
You can move the bar in the first 2 releases of Unity, and that was with a hack.
Yeah.
Then you had like 6 years where they're like tough crap.
Yeah. And then they're like, once they allow it, it's like, oh yeah, we're killing this thing.
The only reason they allowed it is because the Ubuntu Kylan team or Chillin team or however you pronounce it was like, oh, we need this more Windows-esque.
Yeah, and then that's when they did it. Yeah, that's not. Optional. Just make it optional. What's wrong with that? Devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate.
Dark one. We should do that, right? I'm the positive guy. You're the dark one.
Devil's advocate. GNOME knows better. They know what they want. They know the technology better. I'm going with what they would potentially say. They know their technology and design ethos better than other people would. They know the features and functions that are not maintained. Generic users don't look at code, so we're just whiny bitches. To me, I'm gonna be really blunt when I say this. To me, GNOME, whatever way you want to present that. To me, they're a lot like the maintainers for GIMP or the developers for GIMP. They have a very it's our way or no way, and that's fine. But don't expect people to be all hipster lovey with you when it comes to like criticism. Yeah, because you tell enough people to give them a giant middle finger when they ask for features and functions. Yeah, they're eventually going to be like, we're stop being nice.
Yeah, and this is the thing that kind of like it's like talking with the one half, like saying one thing with one side of your mouth and the other with the other, and it's we want to be community based. We want these projects to get feedback from the community, and then when you give them feedback, and I was dealing with this with actually the UB ports actually. Where it's like you give them the lay down, the straight talk, and what could and needs to be done, and it's okay to to take the feedback and think about it, but to just say nope, we're not going to do it. But then we want your support, we want your contributions, we want the community support, we want sometimes the funding. It's like come on, like you can't have it both ways. So, and my thing is also. GNOME is I don't understand why GNOME is being so widely adopted. I guess was it with the inertia of just having GNOME and Fedora and Red Hat kind of like riding that from like the 2.0 days where they just got GNOME is it and they just kind of stick with that because that's what we know. Like I don't see why KDE, given that it's like the tagline is what is it simple but powerful when needed. One of those.
It's simple by default, powerful when needed.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. What am I missing here with why don't people just go with?
Some of it, I'm guessing, is comfort with toolkits. Obviously. To me, honestly, some of it, I'm not sure how many of these developers are new developers. How many of these are hangovers from many a year ago now. A long time ago, KDE was not licensed the way it is now. So GNOME or GNOME was and GTK were kind of developed as like the FSF mentality.
That makes sense then.
Originally, KDE was some type of dual licensing. I don't remember the exact specifics of it. Qt was originally developed by a company called Trolltech, who conveniently was bought out by Sun when Sun was then bought out by Oracle.
Yeah.
So that I want to say some of that is from there.
That's a big piece too, though, because
to me, KDE's always been more willing to look at stuff and give a little more open reasoning as far as why they do or do not do something. I mean, you can look at like Aaron Saigo or any of these other guys who are very out in the community. These are why we do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And you look at a changelog, it's not like looking at to me, looking at a Gnome changelog and looking at like a KDE like point release changelog is like night and day. It's like one's looking at like an open source app on Android from F-Droid or something.
Yeah.
And then looking at like a Google or proprietary app that says, "Oh, bug fixes and
and that's all you know."
Yeah, and it's like you don't know what.
Yeah.
So that's to me what, and no one goes for that simple interface, but I think they think their users are idiots. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh man, wow.
No, I mean, like I think the Gnome guys think their users are. I'm not saying Gnome users.
I'm about to say damn, it just got real.
No. I think the Gnome designers think that the Gnome user base is children.
Yeah, I there is one part where it's like, if you strip things down, there's less things to break, and it's easier to maintain. There's that piece. Also, I do like the fact that Gnome, at some cases, like feels like it's becoming more of, instead of a desktop environment, it's like a desktop modular system where like extensions, have fun, be free, But the thing is, I just don't see the extensions things taking off because with every so many updates, things break. So you can't even like put your stock in that whole argument, like whatever extensions you want, and it's frustrating developers. So I've really, and just to be kind of fair too, like I'm looking at the OMG Ubuntu article where they defended the position, saying we provide this as an optional experience, but really didn't fix much in the last years since it's not part of the default experience, giving users false expectations. Also, nobody really likes to hack on that code, so nobody's showing up to fix the big issues behind it. So, and then they go on later and say, hey, there's a project, a prototype Gnome shell extension has been built that fills the gap nicely, showing app shortcuts, folders, and that kind of thing. And so that's going to be like an extension there too. Let's see how, I don't know if that's like officially who's behind that, but let's see how long they last. But that's the whole argument with supporting that. It's extensions, and then hopefully someone will pick it up and maintain it. I don't know.
I think Gnome's full of crap. Like the devs are. I'm sorry, Gnome developers. I appreciate. I want you guys to understand though. Like any criticism that I give, that is heavily, I tend to take the Last Torvalds approach. But just from the end user perspective.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So Gnome developers, the decisions you make affect more than just what you guys see as code. It affects workflow. It affects all the people in the Linux community, all the way down to little old people like us who are sitting here talking about it.
Yeah.
And we give you feedback and you give us that middle finger. Why do you think we really stop playing nice after a while and you kind of become the joke?
Yeah. But that's the thing. Even in the Telegram group, I find people like, oh, I prefer this, I prefer that. Like, KDE can do that easily. Like I even replicate some aspects of Gnome.
Yeah.
In my KDE system, because I was like, screw this, I could do this in KDE, and I get the best benefits of KDE. Like, screw that. Why would I even bother? So like, I don't understand why people use that. But again, anyone who's listening, we're just we're just pretend this is a bar. We're just talking. Like, no, we're not making any like personal judgments about anybody. It's just casual talk. So Ubuntu says they're going to keep the version right before this change happens in Nautilus. So they're going to ship 1804 with the feature that actually has and maintains, the desktop features. Is this the beginning of a repeat in history, you think, of them just little by little eventually going to clash again in a big way? I think the seeds are there already.
I think there's okay. How long is it? I think there's a lot of years of bad blood between the whole Unity thing. There was that. They've done a lot of work together, so I will give them props for mending fences.
Yeah.
As far as the whole Nautilus shipping thing, Ubuntu knows their
They have to.
well, and the thing is, they've never, ever since they've done Unity, they used that, like, the whole 6-month cadence thing that they have was originally developed to coincide with the point releases of Gnome. That was the whole point of the 6-month release. So they were always lockstep with Gnome. They might release later in the month or whatever, but for the most part, by the time they hit a feature freeze, Gnome was already where it needed to be. So there was always, but they've never really shipped the most up-to-date version of Gnome. If you look at the Unity years and prior years, there's always been some little component that is not always 100% up to date. And you kind of have to with an LTS. You can't just kind of you can't strip out a feature like that most desktop users are used to.
Yeah, it still blows my mind. And just again, I'm a kind of guy that sincerely like seeks truth and understanding, and if anyone's out there like want to make a case like why you should use GNOME, I just would love to hear, because I haven't heard. Like I go to YouTube and I say why choose GNOME, and like there's like barely anything there. But I go to why I use KDE. I see a lot of those videos, and they're like freaking like 45 minutes long of people breaking things down and stuff like that.
At Tux Digital.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, right. Like it's just like I don't know. And again, I'm coming from a perspective of like I'm not the super technical guy. I'm not like I don't have the historical context like you may have in the Mandrake days. I'm coming from a newbie perspective almost, like coming trying to see with fresh eyes, like what would a person say to this? And from a person with fresh eyes, I come to know this, and you're telling me I can't have desktop icons, but then you're talking about options and community and all this stuff, and like you're removing it.
Yeah, it's talking out both sides of the mouth.
Yeah. And it's one thing to say like, we're going to remove it in this future release of this year. I can see that. Where it's like you're casting a future that's kind of down the road, and you're giving people preparing, and maybe the design shift we might get there, and we might think about it, but we're not there yet. So until then, just keep the freaking desktop icons. Anyways, to wrap up, there's one more thing I want to slide in here, which was the whole thing of like when people make Linux that's user friendly for noobs. A lot of it's coming from the design. You're inheriting a design philosophy from either Microsoft or Windows, mostly Microsoft, that kind of thing. Pantheon looks like I know they try to fight it, but it looks like they take a lot from the Mac design philosophy. Do you think that it's a good thing that Linux distros do that versus Linux distros presenting a new world and a new direction, a new philosophy for noobs to enter? Or should we give them that soft landing?
Call me a few years jaded at this point.
Oh yeah. Do you think Pantheon is good for the Linux ecosystem overall?
I think Pantheon, if you mean Pantheon, or are you talking elementary?
Elementary.
There's two different, because you can install Pantheon on other things. I think that having the more curated approach has its pros and cons, just like everything else in life. You're limiting yourself on software, because as an example, elementary, you can't install PPAs.
That's wild. Yeah.
That is a design choice by the team because, PPAs do often break.
Yeah.
Which is fine, and I get that. So it depends on how you're catering, what audience you're catering to. I think Pantheon, in a design ethos way, this is how we see it, this is how we want it, and they'll be the first to tell you, their distro is not for the Linux users. That is, their distro is for the 80% of the people that they get over switching from Windows or Mac.
Yeah, who don't really need Office or don't need something crazy. They just need like a browser and easy.
Well, it's like I have a HP ProBook. I installed Elementary on. Mm-hmm. Partly because it was the only thing that would install on it, but there were other reasons to install it because it was just like, it's just a machine. I need to type up a few things. It's very appliance based.
So Elementary is like your go-to for that. Is Elementary is Elementary a Chromebook competitor?
I can almost see Elementary as a Chromebook mentality.
I think so too.
It's very just you plop it on, do your thing, and go.
Yeah.
Do I think there are certain decisions that can be changed? Yes.
Like right-click desktop, change wallpaper.
That theming.
Yeah.
Let me have a dark mode instead of the bright white menu.
Yeah, that burns my retinas. Yeah.
Yeah, especially I don't care how much you put in on Redshift on or whatever.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna change it. But I think Pantheon and Elementary, they have their uses just like every Linux distro out there. It has its audience, has its niche that it needs to fill.
Did you see what's his name? Switch to Linux review of like 5 reasons not to use Elementary or
yeah. Tom's 5 reasons this is not to switch to Linux. I mean, Elementary,
he was flipping out.
I like Tom, but I do have some issues with that because
he made some good points. He made some really good points.
He made good points,
but he was just
it's kind of like ragging on vanilla Gnome.
Yeah.
And then adding a whole bunch of extensions, but still basing it and complaining about vanilla Gnome.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Because
what he was doing was essentially outside the scope of what Pantheon's supposed to do.
I agree 100%. Like
and that was my biggest issue where there was like, oh, desktop icons don't work. That's kind of the intent. Like it's not designed to do that. And they tell you we don't support using this tweak tool. Yeah,
that's one thing that I think he missed, and most people do. I mean, here's a weird thing, right? It's like I think especially as a marketing background, like it's okay to be whatever you want as long as you set the table of expectations to be a certain thing. Like, so I think Elementary's done a great job in preparing people's expectations. I think they could probably even go a little more to the direction of like, hey, we're not like a traditional Linux distro. We're serving these people. I actually would say they should tackle some Facebook marketing and ads because they can probably grab a lot of traffic that way from people who are complaining about Windows, and they might have some soft landing there for people there. And I love what they're doing with the software center because it takes courage and investment to try to cultivate a developer financial ecosystem. No one's doing that. We're just stuck in the old ways of just like, hey, everything's free and just hack at it, and then everything's just like everything is always half finished. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know if they're gonna ever do it or not, if it's gonna work or not. But hell, I want to support that and give them credit when it's due, because I want to see a Linux distro become like, make money and become super independent and show other people how it's done.
I was gonna say, and honestly, that's a lot of the reason I like Solus.
That's another one too. Yes.
Between Solus, Elementary, and even though it's a flavor, what Martin Wimpress does with Ubuntu Mate.
Yeah,
they're like, freaking. They are their own thing.
Yes.
And that to me is, I can stick someone on Ubuntu Mate, and you can kind of morph that desktop into whatever you want.
Redmond theming.
Redmond Unity, Mutiny, whatever.
Cupertino was it for
And Solus is it's more for the hard. I don't want to say hardcore Linux users, but the way it's designed is more for traditional desktop.
Well, that's his argument. Is like this baby is for desktop only.
Traditional computing.
Yeah, they're not the literal sense of personal computing. Like that's their thing.
And elementary is more that soft landing, and it kind of gives you into the. Because realistically, once you get to a certain point with elementary, if you are of an inquisitive mind, you are going to get sick of probably some of the limitations and whatnot. And you might jump to straight Ubuntu, or you might even, for some of us who are crazy, we jump onto the Manjaro, or we jump onto the Antergos end of things. Because, hey, exploration.
It becomes fascinating. I love the phrase we shouldn't be converting people to Linux, we should be migrating them over. I think that's what happened. I use Linux probably 95% of the time now. I just play Street Fighter 4 for on my Windows dual boot, and that's it. And that took years. It was 2009 when I first started using it. It took me it's almost 10 years for me to be so in love, and I went over this is awesome, then a love-hate relationship, then this shit sucks, I'm out of here, see ya nerds, and then I come back to it. There's something about having control of my system, and also I do some nonprofit work and social justice work, and so it's I kind of like having and talking to people freely, with knowing that my box is a little more secure and less penetrable, that kind of thing. So there's that whole community activism thing that is also helpful, that I put some activists on, like Tails, for example. So it's a really cool world in that regard for what I do too. And so Solus, Budgie, since we're on this thing about desktop environments and design philosophy, what is it about Budgie that people love, that you've seen? I know from Distillation Linux Telegram group, they love that stuff too. I see Budgie as a remix of Cinnamon with a Deepin OS side panel.
Oh, the
Raven.
Funny thing, believe it or not, funny thing is, for as much as I rag on Gnome about some of this design philosophies, the two desktop environments I enjoy the most actually using personally, besides Budgie, if I'm looking for traditional computing, I actually enjoy the Deepin desktop, and I enjoy. I actually like Deepin, and there's one called Maniquari, which is from Blank on Linux.
Jeez, I'm all over desktop environments. I never heard of that one.
It's actually Maniquari is Blank on Linux is part of it's a non-profit that's recognized by one of the United Nations foundations.
Oh wow!
So it might fall into it pretty well. It's for I think it's for the Philippines.
Okay,
initially,
cool.
But it might be something you want to look into. Budgie,
why Budgie?
but Budgie is. I am glad Ike is moving away from what he views as the frustration with the GNOME base.
Thank God. Good for him.
Taking that aside,
good for him.
The one thing I do not like about Budgie, I will be the first to tell you, and I think Rocco and anybody else in the whole DL channel will tell you, the menu. Not a good. It's functional, but it is not the best. It's not a brisk menu or any of that kind of thing. Budgie is just enough customization and freedom to do what you want with the UI enough to make it your own. Mm-hmm. You want to have a dock? Go ahead. It's in the Budgie settings. You can make the whole panel a dock if you want. If the default design is good. I think the guy who did the ARC theme helped with the theme for Budgie, if I'm not mistaken on that.
He loves some ARC. All the spins have ARC default, I think.
And there's just enough customization within it to pretty much please anybody. Like from a traditional desktop point of view. It has its limitations. The side menu, I'm more of the reason I like the deep inside menu is because more of the settings are integrated into the side.
Not as much so in Budgie though. Deepin has, I think, has it right.
Yeah. For me, that's how I prefer to get access into my settings.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's a personal taste thing.
Before everyone has a heart attack.
Yes, yeah, we preach choice.
Yeah,
we preach choice, but God forbid anybody exercise.
Yeah, simmer down, y'all.
But Budgie is more. The Raven panel is more for notifications, updates. Stuff that you would, in KDE when you get like a notification, it goes down and you have the little arrow that you have to click up to find all your old. This one gives you access to just kind of move to the side and there you go.
That is something nice about that.
Yeah, and that workflow works good. And I'm not gonna lie, it's very functional. It's very fast. It's very smooth. It's Gnome better. It's Gnome done right.
Wow.
If you're gonna do Gnome,
man, Deepin is a beautiful, beautiful design touches. Holy cow.
Yeah. Just don't go much below the surface for the coding, apparently. But
why is that?
I haven't used 15.5, but like if you look at 15.4, like all their mirrors are based in China. So like every time you try to change them, it still goes back to China.
Oh,
so
okay.
Updates.
Well, that was that was a downside. That's why I ran Deepin on Arch or Antigros to be. I'm not gonna lie, Antigros, and for like probably 2.5 minutes, I couldn't find like the home screen or the logout screen because it was in the center of the dock.
Yep.
I literally did not know where this thing was. I was like getting frustrated. I was like, "Am I that stupid? I can't figure out where this thing is." And then it was it's in the middle of the freaking thing. I thought I looked at Deepin, and I was just like, "Wow, that it's a beautiful, gorgeous desktop environment." But then the whole Deepin OS being from China, paranoid, whatever you want to call it, I'm like, I'm rather not touch that right now. I have the community vetted out some more. Mm-hmm. And then they had it I saw that it was on Manjaro and also on Antigros, so I put it on. And I just, for some reason, maybe it was just so hyped for me. It was like the hype was so high for me. I was like looking forward to so much that it just kind of like, I don't know, it didn't really stick with me, and I kind of left it like that. From a workflow perspective, like you use KDE mostly, or do you actually use Deepin in a workflow?
Workflow is mostly KDE. Most of the times you guys see me recording videos, I'm actually doing that on the Yoga, so that's on Manjaro KDE. I have a external hard drive that I use for this particular machine because this one's still under warranty. So yes, it still has the evil Windows on it. But that whole, I don't feel like voiding the warranty and dealing with the headache of a manufacturer and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So this one, I jumped between Solus and that's pretty much it. Manjaro is pretty much my go-to for like different desktop environments because for the most part, the AUR has most of the stuff, and yes, you can debate whether or not Manjaro's Archer or whatnot. But,
yeah, that's a stupid debate to me, but yeah.
But to me, KDE is more my kind of workflow. It's just it's old school computing right in your face. Yes, it's the Windows design paradigm, but you know what?
But that's the thing, man. Like I just changed the start menu to like the full screen launcher, which I loved. But then now these days now I'm like looking for speed, so I don't even use like the start button. I just use control space and call up and launch it from there from the keyboard now. But yeah, that's the thing about like KDE. Going to kind of wrap up is like KDE can be anything to you. Like you can get a dock, you can, and I just like the KDE Connect piece too, the cell phone.
Bar none, killer feature KDE.
Super killer.
Basically, for those that don't know what KDE Connect is, if you've used Push Bullet or any of those kind of services, Mighty Text,
baked in.
It is baked in and you can do files. You can do, if it's a connection, you can do it.
I thought it was broken. Awesome. I sent a picture over to my desktop. I thought it was broken. It's like, where there was like no, like, it's here. The notification didn't come up.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was a broken. Oh man, KDE Connect. Oh god, another thing that they push that's not half baked for Linux and all this stuff. I was trying to get real negative, and it's in the picture. They actually put it in the pictures folder. Like usually they go with the home directory, just like, just plop it there for some things, and it's like, oh, you'll figure it out, like. But they actually like had the cohesion to say, yeah, it's a picture. It goes in the freaking pictures directory, and they actually took it that step further. It worked so well. I thought it was broken. And I was like, I had like 10 pictures of the same thing because I was like constantly trying to make sure it worked. Yeah, send it, damn it. But yeah, no. So this is not like some weird commercial for KDE, y'all. This is just two guys didn't know each other from a can of paint, and we just so happened to be fans of KDE, and this was fun, man. We should do another topic, something that's like flame war inducing, and cover that. You know what I would love to do? I would love to do it.
Do note if we get into that, any video I have in is going to be not safe for work. Whatever capacity.
We just got to remember to put that tag in the in the title, the first thing, not the end of the title, because people don't read that. They won't see it all the time when it comes up in the mobile.
Not safe for work.
I put it in the front.
For anybody who looks at my YouTube channel, don't do it at work.
Yeah.
Probably don't do it when other people are around you.
Headphones over your friends. I was actually thinking about having this as like a debate show, almost like a fun debate show, and I'll facilitate like one side over the other. So if anyone's takers for that, I'm looking at you, the chicken, whatever you're.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Or we can call him by his real name if you want.
Which is that?
I'll be nice because
okay,
he prefers not to.
Okay, that works. Yeah, he got sassy with me in the Telegram group out of nowhere one time. I thought we were buds.
No, he's a sassy. Oh, he's take out the S, and that's what he is sometimes.
But I love that stuff though, man. I think friendly debate that is in good taste and good nature. I mean, even if it goes like overboard a little bit, it's still good for the community, I think, because it really gets us closer to. I mean, number one is a learning experience for anyone who's watching or listening in, and I think it makes our arguments stronger, and it makes us look at like, all right, what's our positions about X, Y, and Z, and rethink it, because I think this, especially with all the stuff going on with technology and privacy, I think now more than ever we got to really question assumptions and how to like really break out some stuff with Linux and start gaining some more ground at a faster rate. I know it's taking off already, but I would love to see it happen more, especially on mobile. But maybe that'll be another episode. Dark One 778. Anywhere else they can find you?
Same handle on Twitter. For those that are sorry, I'm not on Mastodon or any of the other.
Oh, you're not legit, man. You're not on Mastodon.
I'm not legit. Sorry.
I don't have a Mastodon either.
But you can find me on YouTube, Dark1778, Twitter, Dark1778. Most of mine are Linux related and usually a lot of heavy swearing and a lot of criticism.
Yeah, and before we started recording too, I was telling people too, my channel, man, I'm a Jesus lover. I'm a Christian, but I'm more of like a hippie Christian where it's like, man, it's all about the heart. So if I'm swearing, it's more so because I'm passionate about something and I feel strongly about something, and I feel strongly about Linux and privacy and all those good benefits that come with it. But also I'm big on like productivity hacks and stuff like that and workflow, and that's why desktop environments are so cool to me, because I think it really can lend itself to great workflows that you can never do in Mac systems or Windows systems. It's nuts. So that's why a big thing. So if you check out Prophetic 777, you can see some productivity stuff there too, plus Linux stuff too. And anyone who's in the Telegram group, please, if we want to cover topics, do debate. I would love to do the debate. I'll be the facilitator, and someone else will kind of go back and forth, and maybe they can take on the Dark One and the next one. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But thanks so much for doing this, man. This is pretty rad.
Appreciate it.
Catch you guys later. See ya.